It's your girl Desiree, and today I am so excited to be bringing a sex guru onto our show. What's up, Dakota?
Thank you.
How you doing, girl?
I'm so flattered. Sex guru? I'll take it.
Honey.
I'll take it.
Honey. So, I would love to just kind of get a little bit of background information about what made you choose sex therapy, what made you go down this route, this rabbit hole. Talk to me.
So, I don't know. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always been obsessed with love and relationships. Being exposed to the internet at a very young age, I was exposed to a lot of sexual media growing up, and both of my parents were divorced, so I was always a lover girl. I had boyfriends and girlfriends in the first grade, and serial monogamous. And then I realized that this is a job. I had an internship in college in 2017 teaching sex ed. So I would go around the city of Newark with a bag of dildos and a bag in arts and crafts, and I'd go to ages 11 to talk about puberty up to people that were even older than me. And I was like, wait, you could get I could get paid for this? So I found myself teaching, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be my own boss. And it always just came back to relationships, because I've had my own share of shitty relationships, bad sex,
Same.
all of that. So I was like, wait, I need to crack this code. I cannot live my life this way.
Okay. And how long have you been, so you said that you were teaching beforehand. So how long have you been within this transition of I'm going to full-time, I'm going to commit my life to sexual education?
So I started teaching sex ed in 2017. I knew it was something I wanted to do. But after I graduated, I was moving back home, and I needed a job. So I ended up having 2 jobs. I got into teaching elementary, and I was like, I should not be teaching math. This is this should not be allowed. And then I found myself teaching a human development sex ed class, health class for middle schoolers. And I quit last May, but I've been doing this independently, working for myself since last February, I'd say. So it's only really been a year and some change. I still feel like a baby in terms of having my own business, but
entrepreneur baddie.
Always. I'm don't tell me what to do. Unless you can tell me what to do, then it's not a problem.
Right. You can tell me what to do, but don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. So you've been doing this now for a year. What have you noticed the most from this field? What have you been okay, this really caught me by surprise?
So non-monogamy is super trendy right now, and I think it's really important that people understand that there's different ways to have their relationships, different relationship orientations. We've been given this model of monogamy is the only way, and there's even different variations of monogamy. So I think my introduction to non-monogamy, and I was like, "Oh, is this for me?" For the record, it's not. But I tried it.
My man.
I was like, okay, I had to know for myself, do I have the emotional capacity to be with multiple people? Do I have the sexual capacity? I don't, and that's fine. But I think it's really important that people are having these conversations and learning different ways to relate. Or even in regards to monogamy, it doesn't have to look the way we've been told it has to look. So a lot of people I've noticed sometimes feel pressured to practice non-monogamy as a way of avoidance, or keeping people at a distance, or having your cake and eating it too, which I don't even really like that quote, because it's my fucking cake. I should
of
be
course
able
I'm gonna
to eat it.
Of course I'm gonna eat that cake.
But that's something that I see a lot of. Play parties, sex parties are becoming a lot more mainstream, I would say. So there's a bunch popping up. Even in New Jersey, they're more low key, but New York is everybody's fucking. Everybody's
and what is the world of a sex party? What is that world like?
So many of them are different. So I've gone to ones that are co-ed, so men, women. I've gone to ones that are more queer-centered. I've gone to ones that are femme-centered, so it's just lesbians, women, because I identify as queer as well. I think most people, when they think sex party, you think like everybody's fucking and everybody's having sex, but it's actually not there. That there's a lot of like socializing. There's always a place where you can like go and sit on the couch. Like anytime I've gone, with the exception of one time, I've literally just like networked and met people. I've only ever gone to like one sex party and actually had sex. And that was my very first one. And it was a gay one before COVID. So I was like, I'm going to get mine. It's like right my body knew. COVID. Yeah, the world was going to shut down. I was like, I'm going to get mine.
Right, I'm going to lock this down before the whole world gets shut down.
And then it did literally like a week later. And I was like, whew, my therapist's going to be proud. I took a chance.
And I'm so glad that you also mentioned therapy because a lot of times, especially as a middle school teacher, kids come with the craziest misconceptions about sex.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, they carry it into adulthood. Like, there are some crazy-ass misconceptions about sex and sexuality and gender fluidity. And a lot of the times, I advocate for therapy as an original vessel.
Right.
To, like, try to make sense of who you are, your identity, what you carry with you. And so many people are so anti. So right. I wonder, like, is sex therapy even more taboo? I feel like it's even more.
There's so many people that are in it. My work is more so focused on coaching. I do think therapy is really important, but therapy is really like kind of unpacking your past. Like therapists, because they're licensed, there's more restrictions on what they can or cannot do. Now, in terms of coaching, there's pros and cons, right? Because you're not licensed, you are certified. There's more freedom, but because there's more freedom, you have to be really careful. So my work is very action-oriented. Like people get goals. I have like a system where we track progress. I give them assignments. I give them homework. But I think a lot more. What happened? Sex homework? Yeah, sometimes. Like I've given people like assignments. I told a client like go to a nude beach or go to a nude painting class or go to a sex party or like not even sex centered, but it's like write about your feelings, bro.
Right. Like, just reflect. Do you know how you feel, bro? Like,
yeah. And a lot of times, even asking people, like, what do you want? They struggle to answer that very simple question. And that's usually where you get people, where you see the misalignment. But I sometimes see a resistance in people wanting to seek therapy or coaching because there's taboo around these topics. And it's like, is something wrong with me? And it's like, bro, there's something wrong with all of us.
Right.
You might as well get help. You're
not alone. Most of us don't get help for it. Yeah. That's the problem.
Absolutely.
Dude, so, okay. Let's say I was a first-time client. And I'm like, Dakota, my love life sucks. Like, help me, please. What would that process kind of like walk me through that process?
So usually like my consultations are when we do that. So like you'd come in and you say like my love life sucks. And I'm like, well, what's happening? And I oftentimes ask people like, what would you want? What's your goal? By the end of working with Dakota, like, what do you want to walk away with? Because that's the result I'm trying to give you. Yeah. And a lot of times people will say, you know, I've had clients where they're like, oh, you know, like I want to get laid. And then I kind of like unpack things a little bit more and they really want intimacy. They want closeness. They want a relationship. And what they're doing. So I'll ask them like, okay, so what are you doing? Yeah. Are you on dating apps? Are you going out to meet people? Is there someone you're interested in? Have you expressed interest? No. And I'm like, okay, well, like what you want and what you're doing are not aligned. Yeah. So in my consultations, like I'm not going to give you everything because that's my service. That's what you pay for. But I tell them how I can help them. So if it's a confidence issue, I can develop a plan for you and I'm going to give you activities and hold your ass accountable because you're paying for this shit. Right, yeah. That's like my model of being a tough love coach. Like you're not just going to come here and think I'm going to do the work for you. That's funny. That's cute.
And it won't work.
Absolutely not.
And it won't work.
Absolutely not.
Interesting.
It's like a guide, you know, like we're working on a partnership together. And oftentimes I have people where they have an unrealistic expectation. And I even notice differences in like women carry a lot of the emotional labor to improve relationships. And I often find when men come to me for consultations, they kind of just need to talk and get something off of their chests. And I'm like, okay, like I can make space for this, but I got boundaries. Don't play with me. Don't play with me.
Do your clients try to hit on you?
I've had things like that. Or I've noticed a lot of times with male clients that like they can get, and I work at a sex toy shop too. So like I've noticed with men in general.
Shout out Romantic Depot.
Branding, right? I didn't even do this shit on purpose. I was getting ready to I was like, wait a minute, this works.
Girl, it sure does. Sponsor her.
Yes.
Hello.
Sponsor the podcast. Hello. But I've noticed, yes, that they get off on kind of just like telling you their fantasies. Like, they kind of just want to like tell you what they're doing, and they kind of get off on that. So I'm really good with redirecting the conversation. I had situations recently where someone had mentioned, like, you know, I worked with someone before, and in the past they wanted to, my last coach was like hitting on me. She was interested in me. And I was like, well, I don't know nothing about that. Like, based on what you're coming to me for, you sound like you want a relationship. You said you want a relationship. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to discuss how, like, your old coach wanted to bang you. And that's, like, wildly unethical. It could also not be true. So you got to be really good at kind of, like, pulling the conversation in and asserting yourself and, like, what y'all are really trying to accomplish.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, damn. I just want to, like, sit with that for a second, because you think about the work that you do on a daily basis, and most people don't interact enough with other people to ever be able to pull at, like, the vulnerability that you work on pulling out of people. And intimacy becomes such a, like, men express it differently, women express it differently, different relationships express intimacy differently. The boundaries between sex within a couple, the boundaries that an individual keeps within themselves sexually, whether they're being monogamous or not, it's there needs to be a space to talk about these things.
Absolutely.
And it just doesn't get talked about enough.
No, that's why I'm so loud about it on the internet. I'm like, you can try to shadow ban me all you want, bitch.
Does IG try to shadow ban you?
Oh my God, I had like 32 posts that were like violating conditions, and some of them weren't even like, I'm going through a divorce, so I mentioned that, which is not sexually explicit. I could post pictures of my ass, and those don't get flagged. Those are fine.
But the divorce talks get flagged.
Yeah,
that's
educational
crazy.
content gets flagged. It's very frustrating. Like, I mean, I'm all for, like, if you want to post pictures of your ass, by all means, go ahead. But, like, that content is okay, and then the stuff that people really need is the stuff that gets pulled from the forefront.
Why do you think that is?
Sex sells. And as long as people don't have that information, we still have content, you know? Yeah. Like, we still have crazy people going online, whether it's a podcast or their Instagram, saying wild shit that's ignorant because they don't know. So when you empower people with knowledge, as you would know, like, they can think for themselves. And if people start thinking for themselves, they're going to start pointing out shit. And then we got to fix
the whole
things.
system. The whole system
It's
gets
just going to collapse.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. You know, you talk about ignorance. From your work so far, or just, like, from your life, what are some what are some of the biggest misconceptions about sex that you've either, like, heard or come across, or what are some, like I'll give you an example. I personally believe in birth control. I don't think women need to be on birth control. Yeah. But I think birth control works. I don't think it provides fertility issues. There's no, like, scientific background behind that. Right. That's a big misconception. A lot of women think that if they take birth control for a certain amount of time, they will become infertile.
Interesting.
So have you come across any, like, misconceptions in your work?
Yes. Yeah? And I'm going to say this on my chest. Ooh! If you are a man and you like butt stuff, you're not gay. Unless you like it from a man, then that's gay.
Unless you're gay, right.
Then that's gay. But, like, if you like prostate play, you like your ass being eaten, like, that's not gay unless it's someone of the same sex doing it. And if you like it, then, like, yeah, that's gay. But that's, like, the biggest thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, y'all, if I had a prostate, I would use it. Right. But I don't.
That's a boy's G-spot.
The God was like, you know what? I'm going to put their G-spot in their ass.
Yeah, yeah. Y'all want to make us bleed every month. Y'all want to make us give birth through our vaginas. Oh, you going to come through your butt.
And it's really good for seminal health, too. Like, as you get older, you have to milk your prostate to make sure, like, shit's flowing right.
Wait, really? Mm-hmm. Really?
The more you know.
The more you... So... Right. So I was going to say, background information. On my father's side of the family, there is prostate cancer. They've beat it, to my knowledge. Like,
that's great, because that's one of those cancers that, like, you know, gets a lot of people, unfortunately.
But can you explain, kind of like the pelvic wall, like, there are these little unknown areas of the body. Could you talk a little bit more about, like, the prostate?
Yeah, so the prostate is like a walnut-shaped gland located in the male's ass, his anal canal. And it helps with, like, maintaining, like, seminal fluid and the creation of seminal fluid. Like, if you've ever heard of, like, I'm on Reddit a lot, like just reading things, and there's stories of men taking like really solid shits and having like a prostate orgasm.
No.
So like stimulating the prostate, you're stimulating the function in your body to create semen and have like healthy semen. So you think like for older gentlemen or, you know, older men, if their prostate's not being stimulated, sometimes they get an enlarged prostate. Or I think it's called prostatitis or something of that form. And it's the irritation of the prostate because it can be inflamed. So you can also think of it as like a release, like a releasing of the fluid by stimulating the prostate.
But is that different from having like a penis orgasm?
It depends. Like oftentimes prostate orgasms are a lot more intense than like penile orgasms, but there's different types of orgasms even for men. So like you can have an orgasm and not ejaculate.
Okay.
You can have multiple orgasms as well. Like a lot of times people think the refractory period is like by the Bible, like that is what it is. Like once you nut, you're done, but that's not necessarily true.
That's not true.
Yeah, but we have different erogenous zones too. So like you can orgasm for multiple things. Men can also have like orgasms because their nipples are being stimulated or from feet, for Christ's sake. Like there's so many different types of kinks or desires that people have that can stimulate an orgasm.
In a world where sex sells so much, why do you think there's so much shame and like withdrawal from the full like pleasure of the body?
I think colonialism has a lot to do
Girl,
with that.
fuck Christopher Columbus, bro.
Yeah, like the introduction and the imposing of Catholicism and Christianity on marginalized communities and indigenous communities, because they came up like, hey, the church, now we have this separation between men and women. We have this role, and women's sexuality specifically was demonized. Like, priests be doing some wild shit. We got statistics and patterns.
Yes, ma'am.
But like, it was thought. Have you heard of that? There was this like condition if a woman orgasmed or if she was really horny and turned on, it was considered like a mental illness.
Really?
So it was a way that they like controlled our bodies and our desires, and that's carried out in a lot of different ways, you know, and it's this forbidden thing. Like we don't talk about it, even from a health standpoint, like not even the idea of pleasure. Like I used to teach kids, and it's like, well, no, I'm not going to teach a kid how to have sex, but we can talk about healthy relationships, boundaries, communicating. Those are things that are transferable, that are going to carry into if they are sexually or what I like to say, like emotionally active. So I think it's a fear tactic that a lot of people use for marketing purposes, for controlling purposes, you know, like same way women's beauty is monetized. Like as long as the media can keep telling us that there's something wrong with how we look, we're going to keep buying shit to try to fix.
To perfect ourselves.
Yeah. So I think that's really the core of it. Like, I don't know. White people ruin everything. We can't have nice things.
We really can't have nice things. Yo, I was watching South Park before I got here. And it was this episode. It was this episode where like, I don't even know the names. The Jewish boy.
I don't know their names.
Damn it.
I'm like, don't
help
ask
me.
me.
Help me, help me.
I don't even watch that.
Oh, damn. Well, the Jewish boy is the fat boy is like, yo, listen, the Jewish boy can't have no friends with nobody because he's Jewish and he owns all of Hollywood. And it was like this ploy to get his black friends to stop being friends with him.
Oh my God.
And like the whole school was like, yo, I heard you're in charge of Hollywood because you're a Jew. And it was like this whole whatever. But it kind of like plays not the because you're a Jew part, but the whole like colonialism and like the overstepping of what once was. Like indigenous people had their beliefs, they had their traditions, they had their way of life.
They had multiple genders too.
Really?
Yeah, like if you think about like two-spirit is like what the average person could coin the term is like non-binary.
Yeah.
And two-spirit is really like having both like feminine, masculine energies represented. So when like people say like this whole idea of like being non-binary or having a different gender than what was assigned, like is really not, is not new.
It's not new.
We used to have the only pronoun at one point was he. Actually, everybody was a he until people of color and women were questioning the laws that were written. So if everybody is he and they're saying he who, he this, he that, they were like, wait, that means us too? And the white man was like, no, not you. We got to come up with different language to segregate the people so you know your place.
That makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
in an unfortunate systemic way that we see every day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's insane how much sexuality is literally like filtered into our lives and how much we push ourselves away.
Yep.
Like we will do at such a young age, toddlers look for their genitalia.
Mm-hmm.
Little kids fondle themselves and each other, and it is normal, like psychologically.
I mean, to them, it's just, this feels good. It's not related to a sexual act. It's just like when someone scratches your back. Like, you're relating it to pleasure because it feels good. It's not like, oh, I'm having sex. Like, they don't have that context, you know? They're exploring and learning their body.
So, why do you think the more... Because, you know, sex obviously exists on a spectrum where kids are exploring themselves. They're trying to get an understanding of themselves and of other people. Then they go through puberty, and then they're even more confused and curious. Mm-hmm. Why do you think we end up with these terrible situations where, you know, rapists, molesters, like, where do you think the kink, the fantasy starts and stops?
Well, oftentimes when we talk about rape, it's not even about sex. It's about control. Rape has always been about control. It's always been about power. And a lot of that is based in anger. Yeah. And I think when we talk about men and how men are raised to not process emotions, their worth is also dependent on, like, how many bitches do you fuck? Are, like, you worthy in the eyes of women? There's this underlying anger that, I mean, it's not okay. I think it's an explanation, not an excuse of how it's manifested. Because oftentimes growing up, what do you hear? Like, boys handle their emotions through aggression. That's encouraged. Like, just shoot the shits, fight it out, and call it a day. Don't talk about it. Don't develop confidence. Like, we don't even really develop men's confidence or boys' confidence. It's like this false sense of entitlement and knowing of themselves that manifests into violence when they don't get what they think they're entitled to. And then when you think about, like, people, you know, child predators, like, there is something wrong in your brain. Yeah. Not, you know, an excuse, but an explanation. Like, if you are attracted to and act on anything that is a non-consenting adult, something's wrong. Like, your marbles are not all there.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think that you worded it beautifully. If you are choosing to act with anything that's not an adult, and that person, animal, that thing doesn't want it, it goes back to the power play. It goes back to the deep need for control.
Or I even think about, like, when you think about statutory rape, right? Like, an older person having sex with someone that is not of legal consenting age, the younger person might want it, but their mentality, their mental faculties, the different, you know, lobes in their brains are not fully developed to make a decision of that sort. Yeah. So you see these unhealthy relationships working in a middle school. I see my 8th grade girls outside in the playground, and you got grown ass men walking by,
17 years old,
checking
18
them out.
years old. Oh,
and the girls are feeling it. They're like, I'm grown.
He's
checking me out. I look good. And I'm like, first of all, little bitch, you a little girl. I love you so much. This is dangerous. But they think that they want that. It's validating. They're getting the attention of a grown man. He's cute. They feel mature. You are not in a mental space to make a decision like that about your, like, sexual health. Yep. And I even think, like, when I was in school, like, I was hanging out with people that were a lot older than me.
Same girl.
And I think about being that age now that those men were. I could never imagine smoking weed with the 16, 17, 18. That's weird.
That is very weird.
Like,
it's deeply inappropriate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know if you ever went to teen bashes growing up. So in the city, right, in the city, specifically in the Bronx, there used to be something called the teen bash. And anyone between the ages of 13 to 18 were allowed to party.
Too wide of a range.
Girls, they were all allowed to party in the same club on, like, Friday nights, Sunday nights.
Well, that's almost like high school. Like, you think, like, high school is that age range, right? But then, like, you add in, but even prom, like, you don't really be seeing freshmen going to senior proms because really. It's odd. Like, in those years of development, there is such a gap where you are mentally and physically that there's no way. Like, the mind of an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old are so vastly different.
So different.
Yeah, that's crazy. The shit we used to do.
Girl.
I should be dead.
Them house parties was crazy.
In jail. Like...
Baby.
Like, how am I alive?
Baby. Doggy style was a dance where I came from.
Yeah, we got nasty.
We got nasty.
But they just used to call it the freak. Like, older generations try to act like they weren't nasty. They were nasty.
Everybody be nasty. Everybody be wanting to be nasty.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just us. We just go about it a little bit differently.
Right.
Like, it's fine.
I'm with the shits. I'm okay with being with the shits. You just don't need to know about my shits.
Absolutely. You don't need to know about my shit. I want that on a shirt.
You don't need to know about my shits. Like, you know, I love that we're able to have these conversations.
Oh, I love talking about this stuff.
When I was, I felt like a puppy. I was like, Joe, can we please? He was like, hell yeah, bring Dakota over. I was like, okay, yeah. Because, like, especially as a middle school teacher, it's like, what do I do to help you, bro?
That's actually part of the reason why I quit. Because I realized that my students were actually so receptive. Like, when you give people accurate information, they can form their own opinions and think for themselves. Like, even the phrase, like, that's gay. Like, after explaining to my kids, like, are you bothered that they're gay, or are you bothered that they're doing something that makes you uncomfortable? And oftentimes, it's like, I don't give a fuck that he's gay. He's doing something that makes me feel weird. Okay, well, let's just call him weird. Like, I know y'all like to talk shit, so let's just be like, bro, you being weird. We don't got to call him gay. They get it. But part of the reason why I quit is because they couldn't internalize that information, because the people that they trust most, their family, they don't have it. So I was like, let me help adults that will either have kids, already have kids, or interact with kids so they can carry that comprehensive sex ed into, like, generationally. Yeah. Because I've had parents call me like, what are these lessons about gender and sexuality? Like, you teaching my kid how to be gay? I'm like, no, I'm not teaching your kid how to have anal sex. I'm teaching your kid to be nice to the gay kid sitting next to him.
I believe that.
And his gay teacher. Yeah. Like, he's going to live in a world where there are gay people. I'm not in the business of teaching you what to think in terms of your opinion. Would I love my students to be accepting? Of course. Nobody wants to be tolerated. But my job is to give you information so you can form your own opinion. And oftentimes when kids have those opinions, because they have great questions, they're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. You know?
So in 6th grade, part of my curriculum is like intro to sex ed. But I take it all the way. I said, word, y'all gonna put this in the curriculum? Bet. And I had the honor of looping up with 6th graders, right? Hey. So I had them for 7th, and then I also had them for 8th.
I love when you get to see them grow.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And there was a lot of, like, sexual activity in the bathrooms happening. And it was interesting because what I noticed was once I provided a safe space for these sexual curiosities to be conversations, they stopped acting out. Yep.
It's the idea of, like, don't put your hand in the cookie jar. Like, you keep telling a kid, no. They want it. They want to do whatever it is you're telling them not to do. Honestly, as an adult, I'm kind of like that. Like, you tell me not to do something, I'm like, I kind of want to now. Right. It's human nature. Right. It's the forbidden. And when you normalize and show, because a lot of times we talk about age appropriate. People are like, this isn't age appropriate. This isn't age appropriate. You're right. But it's age relevant because guess what? They're seeing it on their phones. They're talking about it, or they're doing it. Yeah. So now we got to talk about it.
Especially in urban communities.
Yes.
Like, the lack of support and resources is evident. Teen pregnancy is something that, like, I go above and beyond to try to prevent. Especially, like, when I start seeing my little girls coming in with hickeys on their necks. My boys covered in hickeys. And it's just like, cool, great, but when y'all fucking, like, you wearing a condom?
Yep.
You can lie to your mother about it. You don't have to lie to Ms. Perez about it.
You got to have a trusted adult that's informed to talk to. And I also think we need to get real about the condom conversation because, like, people, you remember growing up, they'd be like, it feels the same. No, the fuck it doesn't. No, it
doesn't.
First of
all,
that's
a bona fide lie.
Yeah, just be honest that, like, listen, it's not going to feel the same, but would you rather it feel like this or you're a daddy at the age of 14, 16, 17? Like, let's really get real about the conversation. Yep. A lot of professionals in my field, which I love dearly, will be like, condoms. Like, I don't wear condoms.
Yeah.
I don't like them.
Yeah.
But, like, if I don't want to have kids, then I need to know my forms of contraception, of barrier methods. Like, you have options, but you need to know what they are to utilize it. And the second a kid, or let's be real, a kid, because I had 8th graders having sex.
Baby,
the second they find out that shit doesn't feel
parents,
the same.
Right. To the parents, your 8th graders, they're fucking. Your high school freshman is fucking.
They are.
They're fucking.
I mean, I was, and like, I lost my virginity at 14.
Me, virginity sisters.
Yeah. But it's so common.
It's same. Yeah.
Like, not most of my friends, but a lot of my friends also lost their virginity at 14. And I could imagine the numbers only getting lower with, like, the shit that's coming out, you know? I had the big-ass desktop computers. It's like seeing porn on the internet. Like, you know, you have to overheat because the monitor and shit. It'd be mad loud, like, breathing on you. But now kids are walking around with computers in their hands. Twitter?
Oh,
not
baby.
the Twitter I knew.
Baby.
Twitter's the new Pornhub.
Twitter better than Pornhub.
It
baby.
is, though. It is.
Oh, the content be elite, bro.
It's very, like, amateur real.
I'm like, wow, this looks.
And you can find, like, niche things, you know, like, really specific hashtag. Like,
and the kids know.
They do.
They're very well aware.
They do.
So it's like, so what do we do? What do you think we do?
Inform. Yeah. And just, we can't keep lying. Like, we can keep talking about it's not appropriate. And it's about, like, the way you're teaching the content. Am I going to talk to my kids about how to find your favorite type of porn? No. Right. Like, no fucking shit. That would be dumb. That's weird. Yeah. But I am going to talk to my 8th graders about, listen, like, what are y'all seeing? What are y'all watching? And, you know, working in urban education, I love those kids because they're so real. Yeah. I've had kids ask me straight up, like, is semen good for your skin? What is a rim job? Yeah. What is this? I've had kids teach me things. Really? And I'm like, I'm supposed to be the professional. I got to, like, dust up on my, like, social media.
Oh, kids will always one-up you.
Absolutely. Yeah. But if we don't create a space for them to have these conversations in a mature manner, we also have to model how to talk about the body and sex in a mature way. Yeah. You know, we keep our cool. Then they're going to find it on their own. Yeah. And they're going to go to their friends who don't know shit. They're going to go to the internet where it's really difficult to, like, discern between a credible source and something that's fake because the internet's just inundated with information. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. Yeah. It's not that we're giving them the tools to say, hey, go do this thing. It's, hey, when you're ready to do this thing, this is how to do it as safe as possible. Yeah.
Like, there are communities, well, I'll talk about my community because I didn't name drop, so I'm going to talk about my school community. We had a hygiene talk one time.
Oh, yeah, those are important.
They are very important because your kid stinks.
They do.
Puberty is really real. Bad. So, you know, we had a hygiene talk or whatever, and one girl who I love very much, she asks me, Ms. Perez, is it true that when you put on a tampon, you can lose your virginity? Well, another misconception.
Virginity is a construct. It's not real.
That part too. When I go to another teacher overheard the question. Mm-hmm. So when I go to address the tampon taboo, right, immediately I get caught off. If you want to learn anything about tampons, make sure that you reach out to your parents.
Oh, listen, I have a lot to say.
Babe, say it, please.
So I got doxxed a few years ago, and I had gone viral on the wrong side of Twitter, which I would say is like the right wing conservative. Okay. Because I said we send our kids to school to learn math, reading, and writing from professionals, but then we expect parents to be the only source of sex ed. And here's what I will say. I think parents and caregivers are very important in the conversation around sexuality, relationships, all of that, emotions. They should absolutely be a part of the conversation. And having comprehensive sex ed knowledge is not required to have kids. How many people, like, you don't need to know shit about sex to have sex and have a child. Yeah. There are so many people that have kids that probably shouldn't.
That really shouldn't. That really shouldn't have no
It's
kids.
real. So when I said that, people were like, whoa, like, there's no such thing as an expert of sex. There's no such, and it's like, I'm not saying you should just send your kid to school and have somebody just teach them all these things. Parents need to be a part of the conversation. And a lot of parents don't have good quality sex ed knowledge. Like I've met people, adults, men that don't even know what the prostate does or where it is. People that don't know that the urethra and the vagina are different things, that don't know the difference between a vulva and a vagina. Like, these are basic human anatomy questions. How to clean yourself, damn it.
It's true.
That you can have different types of orgasms.
Yep.
Like, this is all
little basics
information that the average person does not know.
Yeah.
So no, we cannot leave it up to just one person. Like, let's involve parents and educators and have a relationship to make sure that our kids can be emotionally, because it's not even about sex, emotionally healthy adults.
You know, what people don't really realize is that when you become an emotionally aware and mature young adult, it immediately feeds into your sexual life.
Yeah.
If you're a person who is self-conscious, and you talk a lot about this on your reels, if you're not following Dakota, you need to follow Dakota on IG. But like, you talk a lot about it on your reels, where it's like, if you're constantly doubting yourself, if you're constantly dragging yourself in your mind, I'm not worthy of anything real, you're going to carry that into your sexual experiences.
Absolutely. Women do it all the time.
All the time. And then you wonder why your man's been eating you out for 20 minutes and you can't come. You're not comfortable in the situation. And like, same thing with men. People think that men are 2 minutes in, 2 minutes out, and that's it. But there are a lot of men out there who struggle to come because of internal processes.
Yeah, like performance anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm in my men are the shit era, not my men ain't shit era. I really think we need to, like, oh God, I'm just like, people gonna be like, what the fuck men? Like, yes, they created this system, but like, they need a lot of help and a lot of love, and we're expecting them to have things that like nobody gave them.
Yep.
And now, like, once we give it to you, now is you need to do something with it. But most of y'all don't have the tools.
Yeah.
You know? And I was carrying around, like, a chip on my shoulder for so long. Like, fuck men this, fuck men that. And I was like, wait a fucking minute. Like, if I'm walking around saying men ain't shit, like, that's exact. Somebody tells you ain't shit enough, you're going to believe it, and you're going to play the role.
Yep.
So men also need a lot of help. They also need spaces to talk about mental health, but also their emotions. Their pleasure as well. Like, yes, a lot of sex is male-centered, like male pleasure-centered, but they're missing out on a lot because they don't have the tools to navigate it in the way that could be a lot more expansive and pleasurable for them.
It's very immediate gratification. It's very procedural.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I've definitely learned over time that a lot of men are very sexually fluid and are like, hey, it's a jungle. And other men are very like, okay, you're going to take your clothes off. I'm going to take my clothes off. I'm going to nut, and then we're done here.
Yeah. That's why I didn't orgasm for the first time with a partner until the age of like 23. I thought I did, and then it happened, and I was like, oh my.
I ain't never had this before.
This is what everyone was talking about. I get it now. This makes a lot of sense. Oh, man. And then I was like, okay, well, like, now I know that I can do this. Like, I thought my coochie was broken. I was like, girl, am I just one of those people, like, I could do it, but they can't do it? Like, it's fine when I do it, but it's not when you do it. But it is procedural because what we're going off of is porn, which is entertainment. And now you have the rise of, like, ethical porn, which shows but people don't want to pay for their porn. But, which is fine. I get it. I don't pay for mine. I go to Twitter.
Ooh.
Or I use my own, which is still a really good source.
Which one?
You use your own porn.
Oh, your own porn. I'm like, my own. Is that a website? What is that?
No, maybe we'll make it one.
Oh, right. Myownporn.com.
Yeah.
Yo, that's $1 billion idea, yo.
It really is. I'm joking, like,
Joe.
don't take it. Don't take it.
We're looking for funders. We have this great plan.
That's really it, though.
Yeah.
Imagine we, like, studied our own porn, like amateur. Like, I don't post my stuff. It's in my, like, little hidden folder in my phone. But imagine, like, we studied that. Like, what's happening here? Like, really tuning into the experience. Like, what's this person's moan mean? Or, like, their breathing picked up at this part. Like, taking note. And it doesn't have to be, like, scientific, but it is a procedure. Because what do you see in shows? 1 second they're, like, kissing, and then the next they're naked, and then the next they're having sex, and then he's done, and then they're done,
and then it's done.
And so that's what you think it is.
Yeah.
And there's conversation that can be had before you even have sex with. I'm so big on talking to people before you fuck them. Like, even if you're just fucking them, like, have a conversation about STIs. What do you like? What don't you like? What are your expectations? Like, some people think like, okay, it's going to be one and done. And the other person's like, I actually kind of,
I really
like you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sexy. It doesn't have to be awkward. A lot of people are like, that's weird. And I'm like, but what is sexier than someone caring about your pleasure? That is so hot. Someone giving a fuck?
Right.
Love that.
Like, so do you like it when I touch you here?
Yeah.
Is this okay?
It doesn't have
Yes,
to be
Daddy,
like,
it's okay.
can I do this thing right now? Like, no. It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah. So you also have workshops.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your workshops?
I do a handful of things. So I have things that are for educators. I have a workshop called Parenting the Parent in Sexuality Education, which is really about reframing the idea of power and authority, and having sexuality professionals and educators feel empowered to develop effective, what I call effective and not always pleasant partnerships with parents. So you develop a relationship with the caregiver or the parent. They're going to have moments where it's uncomfortable and there's learning curves, but it's effective because you guys are working together to give the child what they need to be emotionally healthy, sound adults. And then I do more spicy shit. So, like, I have a food play workshop.
Food play?
Yeah, so, like, using food during sex or as, like, foreplay. Love that. I have a wax play workshop because I make massage candles. And I'm presenting a deep throat workshop next month in the city, so stay tuned. Yes.
Wait, what?
A deep throat workshop.
A deep throat workshop in the city.
My partner nicknamed me the Throata, so.
The Throata.
The Throata.
Shout out, partner. Hold up. This is... Shout out to partner. It's the Throata, baby.
That is my proof
Go
that
on now.
I'm certified.
Hey.
I need to talk about this.
I'm good.
Wait, tell me about this class. Hold on.
Wait, Joe, tap in.
Hold on, we're good. You're good.
All right. I was gonna say tap in, Joe. Okay.
He said, "Wait a fucking minute."
You got the Dawn. You got the Dawn. You in good hands. You in good hands.
Time though, like working at a sex toy shop, I have people come in like, I'm trying to do this thing, and I'm like, girl, I got you. Tips, tricks.
What thing? What are they trying to do?
Deep throating. So
Just
swallow the whole thing.
talk about. Hold on.
Like a trooper.
Talk about therapy. All right, so I want to know, you got to break down this class. You cannot just say you have a class. This is like the best promotion for the class. Like, how many people could sign up?
Unlimited. Ideally, we try to do like, so I'm collaborating with a play party organization. They're called Susia. So they do sex parties and workshops for the Black and brown community. But the workshop is really just going to be an outline of like tips, tricks, techniques on deep throating, because a lot of times I see people come in and they're like, okay, my partner wants me to deep throat, but it's uncomfortable, it's not enjoyable, or I don't know how, my gag reflex is like too active. So I'm going to walk people through different positions. I'm not really big on numbing spray. Like, I have a lot of people come into my job that want to buy numbing spray. If something's numb, you can't feel if something's wrong. So I teach people how to utilize different positions, breathing techniques, so it's enjoyable for both people. And the person that's doing the throating, the throat goat, has the skills to like be confident, go into it with like some oomph, not like, I don't know if I could do this.
Yo, you make a great point, because when you really think about it, like, there's like basketball coaches, there's this. It is like one of the most, I guess, often things that, people do that you would say is kind of like a little activity that people really, I guess, where do you get your basis from? Fucking porn or
exactly,
or whatever. So like, this is really interesting. Now, how much of this you feel like is out there when we talk about like classes and things?
There's so many resources. A lot of things are online. So like, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to do these workshops, and then I'm going to put them on my website so people can buy them on demand. So if you are in another country or another state, but there's so many educators doing crazy, amazing things. There's like classes on fisting or multiple orgasms or navigating orgies. Like Instagram, social media has really become like the house for finding these people and these resources, but there's a lot out there.
There is. And, what would you say is the percentage of people that just don't know what they're doing?
I feel like the majority of people don't know what they're doing. The percentage? I don't know. I don't want to be pessimistic.
No, it's all right.
70%? 75%? We could all learn something.
100%. Okay. So before I heard you guys talking a little bit about like monogamy and all that type of stuff, what's your thoughts on like polygamy?
Not for me, but it generally can work for a lot of other people. You just need to know, like, the same questions you would ask yourself to determine if you're monogamous are the same questions you need to ask yourself if you want to have multiple partners or multiple wives or multiple husbands. Like, what is your intention? Do you have the emotional capacity to be with multiple people? Sexually, intimately, do you have a time? Like, a lot of polygamists or polyamorous people, like, y'all got calendars that you share to, like...
Hold on, don't say y'all. Well, no. Yeah, okay, go on. You got your calendars. Wait, I want to know.
Because time management is really important if you're dating multiple people.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But no, not for me.
I can't, yeah. All right, why?
So we all have, like, our things in relationships, right? Like, some people are insecure or deal with different things. Most of my trauma has come from my relationship, so I developed, like, debilitating jealousy. Like, I wouldn't leave my house. I didn't want to see women. I didn't want to... This was also during my queer awakening, so I was like, do I want to be you? Do I want to have sex with you? Like, jealousy and being turned on are two really strong emotions to experience at the same time. But because of my relationship trauma, I have a lot of jealousy, like internalized fear, anxious attachment. And I shamed myself for a long time because I was like, well, the cure to my jealousy is being non-monogamous. The cure to my jealousy is being polyamorous and getting over it and regulating my jealousy and being in multiple relationships. And I was like, wait a fucking minute, this isn't working. Like, I think my body was telling me that I was monogamous. I tried to do the open relationship poly thing, like in the relationship I'm in now. He already had partners and I knew that. I was coming out of a divorce. Like, I'm still in the process of a divorce. So I was coming out of a separation and I was like, okay, I've been wanting to try this. Let's try it. And in trying it, my body was just not responding to other people. And I'm a very emotionally intense person. Like, I got a lot of feelings. They're very heavy. I can talk about them. But I tried to go on dates with other people. I tried to have a threesome. It was like a soft threesome. Like, the second I made the girl come, I was like, peace, y'all, I'm out. Bye. Thank you so much. I had a great time. But my body was telling me, like, non-monogamy is not for you. Like, my body wasn't responding emotionally or sexually to other people, man, woman, queer, non-binary. And that was finally when I accepted, like, I don't have to force myself to be non-monogamous to cure my jealousy or cure my insecurities. And being in a healthy, secure relationship has actually helped hold me accountable to doing the work to work on those things.
How so?
When you're so used to dealing with people that are fucked up and more fucked up than you or shitty, you're so used to them being the problem. So in this relationship now, I've never been with someone that is so emotionally intelligent, so emotionally aware, holds me accountable, right? Like, I know that there's certain boundaries I would not and could not cross. I would never disrespect him. I would never call him out of his name. There's things, even like arguments, like explosive arguments, like we don't have that. We don't do that because I know if I cross those lines, he's out the door. So I have to check myself because now I'm the problem. I'm the drama. I'm the one with the insecurities because he's not bringing any bullshit to the table. It's really just me, myself, and I and all these motherfucking feelings that I got to work through.
What sign are you?
I'm a Virgo Libra.
Okay.
I don't know. Depending on the app you use, it says I'm one or the other.
What's your birthday? Yeah, what is it?
September 22nd.
My birthday's September 27th.
Hey, Libra.
Yeah.
I feel like my mindset can be very Libra, but my process is Virgo. So, like, I'm very organized, but I can be indecisive. But, like, once I make my mind up about something, like, that's it. Mine is made up.
All right. How important do you feel like sex is in relationships?
I don't think sex is... I think intimacy and closeness is more important than the act of sex. If how you express intimacy and closeness, if one of the ways is through sex, yes. But there are people that don't experience sexual desire, asexual people. Like, they don't have the sexual response that we have when we're turned on, and they have very fulfilling relationships, or they can have. So if sex is something that's important to you, then it's important in your relationship. If it's something that's not as important to you, then it's not as important to you in your relationship. So it really depends on the person. But I feel like sometimes we only think of sex as like our only form of intimacy and physical connectedness. And I think there's a lot of other ways that sex can look or intimacy can be expressed that carry a lot more value sometimes and can even make sex a lot better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that point. Like, and even just knowing that, you know, you're into, because some people are just not intimate at all. Like, that is just not in their wheelhouse. Like, it took me a long time to probably even realize that even about myself. Like, I didn't even know that was like a thing. I thought that was like almost like, you would assume maybe that it's like an everybody thing, you know, that people, but a lot of people are not. And there are some people, like you said, there's some couples who are they're just not intimate really, but they're very, very happy, you know. But then there's some, like for me, I learned like one of my love languages is like that physical touch. But it's not really just a physical touch. It's that intimacy. But like you said, there's so many different ways to be intimate with somebody. And I think until you really start, you know, kind of going into that route, you then see that you can be fulfilled in other ways by being intimate other than just sex. You know, like a lot of people think that just sex is that. Can you maybe break down like what are some methods of being like intimate with your partner? What are some intimacy things that people can maybe try to do? Maybe they want to be a little bit more intimate. Maybe they know that they love, you know, being intimate, but maybe they're just so used to just sex or just used to, you know, oral or just one dimension, but maybe they want to break out into different ways.
I like to call it like the everything but method. So you do everything but sex. And a lot of like when we say sex, like oftentimes we're talking about penetrative sex between like a penis and a vagina, right? Like there's anal sex, there's oral sex, there's different types of sex. But I oftentimes encourage people to like do a lot of touching. Even talking can be really intimate. Like I guess I consider myself sapiosexual, where like if you cannot stimulate my brain, like you are not stimulating my coochie. Like my coochie, my heart, my brain are off. It's not working. So conversations, mindful activities, even like eating a meal together and putting your phones away and just talking can be really intimate. Checking in about your feelings can be really intimate. Those are the things that people think aren't so sexy, but it really develops that closeness without resorting to sex. But in terms of physical activities, massages are nice. You can play different games. Kind of like edging is a practice where you build up the tension of an orgasm without actually like having an orgasm. And that's really purposeful too, because a lot of times we think as orgasm as the goal. The goal when I have sex is to have an orgasm. If I don't have an orgasm, it wasn't good. And there's so many reasons why it doesn't happen or can happen. And it doesn't have to happen for sex to be fulfilling. It's a nice little bonus, but it's about the journey, not the destination. So I encourage people to talk. I encourage people to touch without penetrating or without like putting something in your mouth or like doing the different forms of what we consider sex.
Yeah. Can you break that down a little bit more about how it doesn't always have to be maybe to the orgasm? Like, you know, how people can really get pleasure and enjoyment. I think a lot of people kind of goes back to me asking you, like, how many people are actually doing it right? Because I think a lot of people, they're looking for maybe one thing. They're not getting it, but they really would be fulfilled in other ways. Can you maybe break that down a little bit?
Yeah, I think specifically for women, like the orgasm gap is heterosexual women orgasm the least compared to any other group, specifically lesbians and heterosexual men. Lesbians got it figured out because they have the same parts, period. Like, you know what you're working with. And then heterosexual men, I mean, the anatomy is pretty straightforward, like literally and figuratively. So I think when we talk about performance anxiety, women also have performance anxiety. To have an orgasm or accomplish an orgasm. Like, my man wants me to come or my partner really wants me to come and I really want to come, but like I can't. Like, it's a mental block. And I think because of the male anatomy, a lot of the parts are external. Men typically get sexual stimulation from like the visual or the audio, so it's a little bit easier for them to have an orgasm. But for women, it can really be a struggle. And there's different types of orgasms. You can have an anal orgasm. You can have a nipple orgasm. You can orgasm from the clitoris. You can orgasm from the cervix. Like, there's so many different parts of the body that can be stimulated because the vagina is complex as fuck. So I think kind of taking that pressure off and also developing a self-pleasure practice can be really helpful.
How so? Like, what is that? Break that down.
So it's being more intentional with masturbating. Like a lot of times when people masturbate, they pull out their phone or their computer and they just like go ham. They just get right to it. But we don't foreplay ourselves the way we foreplay other people. We'll put a lot of effort into kissing somebody and touching somebody and making sure that they're aroused. But we don't do that for ourselves. How often do we take ourselves out on a date and put on a cute outfit and check ourselves out and warm ourselves up and be like, damn, bitch, like, you really fine. Like, you look good tonight. Like, building up that tension to appreciate your body. So I encourage people to tap into the senses when you're developing a self-pleasure practice. So, like, what are scents that really turn you on? What are sounds that really turn you on? Put on some mood lighting. Like, what are the things you like to see? What do you want to feel? Do you like things that are soft and fuzzy? Do you like things that are like cold and hard, like metal or handcuffs or leather for spanking? Like, you tap into the different sensations and then you create an environment for your self-pleasure practice or your masturbation and discover different parts of your body. Try different positions when you're self-pleasuring yourself. You know, try different types of porn. Maybe do audio porn. Like, audiobooks are really popular right now. Record yourself and watch yourself. Like, there's so many different things you could do.
Yeah, audios are a big one. What?
He was like,
do you know? Do you know? Did I ever tell you?
No,
I think I didn't.
I don't think so.
All right,
That's
I'll say it on. I'll say it on here. Not me personally, but I've always wanted to start a sex podcast where it's basically just phone sex on a podcast, and every episode is a different role play.
That's genius.
Yeah, let's just keep that in there.
$1 billion idea.
You know how many people will want to listen to that?
You better cut this out.
I know. No. Because
cut that out.
I probably will, because I've really been wanting. I just got it, and then each week it could be different people. Yeah, let me stop.
Shit, Joe.
Seriously.
Genius.
Yeah, I've been sitting on it for a few years.
Well, now it's time to get up from it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's make it happen. So before we wrap up, I just want to know, because since you brought up like masturbation, do you think that we are, especially I'm gonna say women are just fucking themselves up with all these toys and all these it is insane. You ever go up in there?
Guilty.
Yo, like, look, I went to the sex museum recently. We talked about that shit. That shit was yo. Like that light, that GVM light, a lot of y'all women would be using.
Honestly.
Right?
Yeah, why not? There's a lot of things you could use.
There's a lot of things. It is getting insane. And,
the technology's crazy.
Yeah, what dude can compete with that?
It's not about
the Rose
competition,
thing?
though.
Like, Rose, shout out to y'all. Y'all could all right, maybe I'm using the wrong one, competition.
Yeah, let's reframe.
Yes. See, I think that they could be used as tools in the bedroom. You really want to get me talking.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people are actually talking shit about these things. But it's like, no, if you just become friends with it and help your lady out and use it as a tool, that's really when it gets to be a vibe and it gets to be fun. But you do hear a lot of men, having these conversations where it's like, women are using these things, and then it's like, then when it's your turn, you can't compete. How we you could like.
I think well, first of all, I love that you use the word tools, because oftentimes when I'm talking to men at like Romantic Depot, that's the word I use.
Yeah, you gotta use
Toys sounds like juvenile. It sounds kind of like feminine. It sounds like flirty and fun. Whereas tools sounds very like utilitarian. Like, I'm coming in with this tool to do this, to have this function.
Yeah.
So that's really important. But I think sometimes I compare it to food. Like, I love Mexican food, and I also love Italian food. And like, sometimes I just want like Mexican food, and sometimes I want Italian food.
You can't compare. You can't.
Why? Which one's your favorite? Which one's better?
No, not even just the foods. Like, these things are getting so crazy. Like, some of these toys and all this and what you see is so intense. Like, I just feel like, how could you even put that in the same wheelhouse?
I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to put it in the same wheelhouse. I think you think of it as a supplemental material. Like, yes, though, what happens sometimes, like I've told my partner, like, there's a certain toy I have. I was like, you need to keep this at your place, because if it's here with me, I'm not getting shit done. If my vibrator's charged, pretty much, if my man's busy and my vibrator's charged, like, that's what I'm doing that day. So self-control, but it's also like, it's addictive. Like, you literally get like an oxytocin dopamine rush in your body. It's like an addictive response, like checking your phone. So what I see with women, with things like the Rose, I've had clients that are like, I can't stop using it. And now because I keep using it, when I have sex with my partner, it's hard for me to have an orgasm. So what happens is it's kind of like exercising. Like if you use the same weight, you do the same exercise with the same reps, you are exercising the muscle, but you're really not going to feel it because you're doing the same shit. So I always recommend, like, put that shit away, take a break. It's not that you get desensitized. It's that you just get used to the sensation. But even male toys, like we have sex robots now. Yeah. We have the blow bot, which could literally give you a blowjob. It moves up and down. It thrusts. It tightens. It moans. You can hook it up to VR. And I think COVID really surged this disconnection between people. People are afraid or they don't know how to talk to one another and ask for what they need. So it's going to be easier for me to go grab a toy than it is to like push myself to have a conversation with someone that I'm interested in.
She'll save you a lot of drama, kids, money, like yo.
Yep.
Nah, yo, for real, people. Yo, I'm serious, man. Yeah, tell me, yo, like, you know how much, yo, just jerking off a little bit will just save you.
Post-nut clarity, man.
No, it is a real thing. Like,
is it?
No, it is a real thing. Yo, listen, I'm gonna tell all the guys. I don't know. Most men should know this by now, but if you're listening to this or watching this, if you just want to save a couple dollars before you see Shorty, just jerk off. Yeah. Just no, seriously, like just jerk off. If you still want to see her after, then go do it, and then you're good.
That's a good rule for women too.
Yes, seriously.
I think we also experience post-nut clarity. Like you're like, you really want it, and then you get it, and you're like, damn it, I shouldn't have done that. It was good, but I shouldn't have done that.
Yo, I'm telling you, it will save you a lot. Just that's it. You thinking about going out, you thinking about styling, you thinking about calling that escort, you thinking about whatever it is, just go jerk off.
Save you a lot of money.
It'll save you a lot of decisions. Could save you child support. Could save you
That's a
whole lot of bad decisions.
That's a fact.
What's your opinion on escorts?
I think it could be, well, first of all, like people that do sex work, it's work. Like a lot of them, there's so much communication. There's so many things that they learn. And I feel like it could be a really good therapeutic tool. A lot of, in relation to kink, like a lot of times when people do sex work, you have dominatrixes or escorts. Kink can be really therapeutic for people. Not every kink that someone has is because they're traumatized. Sometimes, yes. Like maybe you like someone degrading you because when you were a kid, like your parents were really shitty to you. So now this degradation is a turn on because you want a positive reframe of a really shitty experience. But
how real do you think that is?
I mean,
how many times do you think that's like a legit thing?
What, the kink being used as a positive reframe?
Yes. Is it
often?
Really positive? Is it really positive?
I think it can be. Well, let's speak to consensual non-consent really quick. A lot of women, even men, have experienced sexual assault, right? So sex can be really intimidating and it can be really triggering. Now, if I do a consensual non-consent role play with my partner, someone that is good to me, someone that I trust, we can almost like, I'm going to speak for myself, or also I've talked to people about this, but I'm going to speak for myself. You can almost create like a neural pathway in relation to the assault in a safe environment. So like most women have experienced sexual assault. I've experienced sexual assault. And I did like a consensual non-consent role play with my partner. And it was honestly healing as fuck. Like we were getting it. We've talked about our fantasies. We were getting into that territory. And I was like, okay, like we're going to do this, you know? We talked about safe words, like words that we use when I'm like not okay, or I need a break or a check-in. No was not a safe word because like that is the nature of the scene, the role play, yeah. Right? But by the end of it, I had all these emotions come up, this anger, this sadness. But then there was also this simultaneous feeling of like safety and release. Like I got to release a lot of pent up emotion because I was in a safe container to like play out this memory with someone that cares very deeply for me. And that's also why aftercare is so important. If you are playing around with, honestly, sex in general, it doesn't matter if it's kinky or not, aftercare helps ground you after you're experiencing this like heightened sense of emotions. Like if you're having this sense of euphoria or that post-nut clarity, aftercare can be cuddling, it can be smoking a joint, going for a walk. Don't touch me, don't talk to me. It can be anything, your favorite snack to help ground your body back to a homeostasis.
Real stuff. We gotta get you on for part 2 because I know a lot of people after this are gonna have lots of questions.
Let's do it.
You know,
I'm so down.
Yeah, we're gonna pull up a lot of clips. We'll put up the episode, and then I know people are gonna have mad questions.
Yeah, we talked a lot. We covered a lot of shit today.
We did. It was good stuff, yo. Yes.
My heart is so full, bro.
Let's go. First of many. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
This was fun. Hope you enjoyed it.
No, I did. This was great.
Word. Javi, you enjoyed it?
100%.
What about
You
Ron?
guys learned something new?
We learned, definitely.
Let's
That's
go.
my goal. Good.
Get ready for round 2. All right, everyone. Be safe. Peace.
Yay!
Let's go.
Woo! Oh, that was so good. I could cry.
Thanks, guys.
You're freaking awesome, bro.
You guys are great. Those are good questions, too.
Thank you.
People really go sometimes for, like, the most basic shit. That was wonderful.
Now we try to like
Who does this? Who does this?
try to switch it up. You know, just be real too, because a lot of times people just want to know like that real stuff.
That's the
You
end
know?
of my business. Get real with Dakota.
Exactly.
That's it.
Let's do it. Let's get a flick in. Let's get a photo.